This episode, we are full on spoilers for both the books and the show.
Hi, I'm Max.
Hi, I'm Mitch.
And I'm the Geeky Hippie. Welcome back to What the Adaptation, YouTube channel reviews adaptations from one format to another format. This week, we're continuing on with Season 3 of The Expanse. Max, what can you tell us about this episode?
This is episode 5, Triple Point, directed by Jeff Wolno. He's got quite a few shows under his belt, including Vikings. Did 10 episodes of that. Some of the big episodes of that had quite a few big episodes in that one, including the Great Army episode. If you ever watched that show, you know what I'm talking about. He did Riverdale, Cloak and Dagger.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Heroes Reborn. Let's see. It says the movie Jack 2013. I'm not sure which one that is. Got some things in his belt, including, like you said, quite a few episodes of The Expanse. You said he was one of the most directed directors.
He's the longest running.
Yeah.
I think Brett Eisner, or whatever his name, Brett Eisner, the other guy, he's actually got more episodes because in some of the seasons he did more blocks than anybody else. But according to Ty Frank, Wilno is the one who did the longest running. And
then aside from the obvious writers of the episode, we have Georgia Lee, who is the writer for the episode. She has an interesting shows on her belt as well, which include Carnival Row, The 100, I should say producer records, not writer, are under her belt.
Okay.
That's first thing listed under IMDb's producer,
right.
Not writer.
Okay.
All right.
Writer is something called Shadecraft, but it's in development. Writer is 101 episode, Expanse 19 episodes. Show called Red Doors, and The Big Dish. Never heard of it. 1998 for short.
Okay.
But she has some stuff under there.
I was going to say she had a great interview with Ty on the Ty and That Guy show, where they covered a whole bunch or they talked to her about her past in developing the show and so on. This was her first science fiction that she had done. And she has a very, very strange background. You need to watch that episode. I'm not exactly sure which one, but pardon. It's extraordinary what she's done in her life.
That's cool. I'll have to look for that one.
As for
Anything
this
else?
episode, obviously, stuff happens again. Was it the Agatha King?
Yes.
Yeah, it goes to a location away from the main fleet. And yeah, things aren't having a happy ending for some of our people. Yeah.
It was my favorite moment in the entire episode. Not so much scene, but my favorite moment in the entire episode. Yeah. He annoyed me. He really annoyed me. That's when Boyer got it. When DxO snaps his neck. I like this episode. It's not really the book at all again, but then this is season 3, which doesn't do the book, and then by not doing the book, still does the book. So I haven't figured out how they do that magic. I enjoyed the episode overall, though. What about you, Mitch?
Yeah, I thought it was a lot of fun. The tie-in with Souther and Wynn, how their interaction, as you said, it's not in the book.
Right.
But I think I mentioned this last week. I think the change that they made from the book to the series is far superior to what the book had originally. In that case, Souther was in an armada that had already helped the Rocinante and was in essence in convoy with the Rocinante and other UN and Martian ships on their way to Io, with Wynn already being in command of the Agatha King
Right.
while he's going to Io. So the draw that was established by having Souther as the captain and Wynn coming in and taking over was far superior to what was in the book. So they made a very wise choice to take this route rather than adhere to the books.
And it's also cheaper to take the interfleet conflict of a whole bunch of ships and shrink that down to a bridge, or the CIC to be technical. It wasn't the bridge. So yeah, it's a lot more efficient at storytelling, and it's a lot easier to do it with people instead of ships, having, doing it that scale. So I like it that way. It's just, without giving away too much about what's coming later in the season, they had to change something that's supposed to that happens in book 3 so that they weren't repeating themselves, in a season, doing the same thing twice in a season.
Right.
And I know we said spoilers on. I'm just trying to avoid, because I don't know how far Max has gotten, and I don't want to go too far ahead.
In the show or the books?
In the books. Have you
Yes.
read 3 yet? You've read book 3.
I'm trying to remember. That's
Abaddon's Gate, the Slow Zone.
I've gone through the Slow Zone.
Okay, in book.
Yeah.
Okay, the mutiny on the Behemoth. And if they kept the full-fledged mutiny on the Behemoth, we'd have 2 mutinies in one season. And that's not even counting the counter mutiny that Ashford does against his mutiny. So it's just like, that's the one thing I don't like about this change, is that they had to pull back from doing the mutiny in the back half of the season. And that's one of my favorite parts of the story in book 3.
Oh, okay.
No, if anything, that's where stuff gets kind of hard to like keep track, is where they're changing things and then the show changes and then the book doesn't match up. You're like, okay, which one am I forgetting something, or they're gaslighting me, or what's going on here?
Yeah.
Because like you're reading something like, wait, didn't this happen? No, no, that didn't. Wait, isn't Souther alive? Wait, what?
Yeah.
Exactly. And for me, yes, I've read the books, been through them twice, but the last time I went through was quite a while ago. So I'm kind of refreshed.
Finished yesterday.
Yeah, I'm just
finished. Yeah, yesterday. Yesterday I finished reading Leviathan Falls and listening to The Sins of Our Fathers, and then I was like, now what do I read?
Yeah.
So,
well, the problem is that I've been able to watch the show so much more often than read the books that the show has become more canon than the books in some cases.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I don't have a steel trap for a mind, so if I read something and a month, 2 months go by, things start to get a little fuzzy. It's
believe
not like
me, I understand. I understand about a fuzzy mind. not retaining in memory. That's why I keep listening to the book over and over as we're, I'll watch the episode, and then I'll find that part in the book, that equivalent in the book, and listen through it, and then go back and watch the episode, and I'll keep repeating back and forth. And sometimes I'll listen to that segment of the book 2-3 times, between episodes of the show. Because I basically start cramming once Thursday hits.
I think it's a testament to just how good the show is to the books, is that sometimes it's just so hard to differentiate which one's the book and which one's the show. My memory is like, crap, which one happened? And I have to go to an outside source like, okay, book and show, because there's
Yeah.
parts like, okay, this is definitely show only, this is book only, because my mind, I read it in the book like, okay, this happened last week's episode. No, it didn't. This happens 4 episodes from now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like,
And
I
the
was
only
sure
character,
that Holden met Miller in episode 2. No, that happens 6 episodes from now, or 2-3 episodes from now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
yeah.
And I had just read that chapter in the book, and I thought that happened in episode 2, and I had already watched it. I didn't.
Are you reading or listening? Just curious.
Listening.
Okay.
Yep.
Have you guys caught the Jefferson Mays screw up? It's in this section of the book. And when everybody's sending messages ship to ship, broadcasting and saying this, Wen's arguing and Souther's arguing. And then Secretary General Sorrento Gillis sends out his message. And it cuts in the book, it cuts in halfway through him saying Secretary General. But all you get is General, no G at the beginning, Sorrento Gillis. And it in the audio book, though, he says, he starts at the entire beginning of the sentence without cutting anything off. He says, this is General Sorrento Gillis. Later in that paragraph, he says that Admiral Augustus Wen is wanted for questioning. He says, Admiral Augustus Wen of the United States Navy. No joke. You can hear Jefferson Mays say it. I couldn't tell you what chapter it is, but I'll send it to you guys, and I'll post it in the comments later when I remember which chapter it is, find which chapter it is. But I'm like, wait, that doesn't sound right, because I'm like, and so I went back to listen. Then I went and looked at in the book, and I'm like, he messed up. It's the one big time mess up I've heard the audiobook make that I know of, other than the way he says gimbal.
Okay.
He says gimbal. He calls them a gimbal. The crash couch is on a gimbal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I'm like,
So
okay.
we should probably get to our first question. How do these changes impact your enjoyment of the episode at all?
Well, generally,
I think it's increased it.
Yeah, I think it's better. I really think it's better than the book as far as the action, the tension, and everything.
Some of it, yeah. This episode in particular, I'll give that to you. Yeah. I think I think we got better stakes with it being on the conflict being not intership but interpersonal. Especially since we've had several episodes this season already with Schaefer and Mancuso and Souther, on the ship, and then Wen coming on with his lickspittle Boyer right there. But it gives it better stakes because, when it's a ship to ship and we're seeing it all from the POV of people in the Rossi, just hearing it over the radio on the, the wireless, whatever, and on displays. And hey, shout out, they brought holograms back this episode. That's impersonal and it doesn't really hit home. And I think with the interpersonal way of doing it, I think it really strikes home harder in it, and it was more action too. Gave you a couple moments of action.
Yeah, and also, in the story, Avasarala is kind of the one who's directing the traffic over the radio, and it just wouldn't have worked at all here. So I think they made a very wise decision to basically cut her out of all of the action sequences. I mean, she's not an action girl.
No.
Number one, she needs to talk. That's her strength.
Now, I still wouldn't mind her as my comms officer. If I owned the Rossi, she'd be my comms officer.
Especially wearing that white jumpsuit. Yeah.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have said that. Sorry.
She does look good. I'm not going to argue with that. I know many people who agree.
You mentioned that first thing I think is Mass Effect. I think the character is Miranda.
I don't know.
Yeah, you'll have to look it up if you don't know what I'm talking about.
When when the idea was first put out on Twitter Time and maybe in the YouTube live chats of her playing Cad Swain, it rapidly became, the term was hot Swain. So, that was the term of the idea of her playing Cad Swain. So I don't know who coined it. I'm not sure.
Well, having cast her as Elida instead, I think was a very smart move.
Yeah, I just don't know.
I
It's
think
going to
Rafe
hurt
had
to
that.
hate her.
Yeah, Rafe had that in mind early on, I believe. One other thing in here that is quite different, book to show, is that you had Holden take the Razorback over to the Agatha King, in order, to get the control of the pods and such.
Yeah.
We're kind of delving a little into the next show here because things are out of sequence in the show to the book. For example, Holden had gone to the Agatha King before the Rocinante set down on the planet or on Io. So you've got this time jump. Let's do the time warp again. That type of thing.
Well, right. They do still send somebody over to the Agatha King, but
yeah, and that's more of an after the fact type issue.
But yeah, I get why they did it, because they made use of an act with that. They made use of an actor they've got, already have, and threw him in over there. But I want to save that for the next, when we get to that episode.
Yeah, I think there's a few things in the appropriate chapters that are going to be more important for next week's or the next episode's discussion. So it's kind of, I don't want to say too much at this point because of this time differential, but it's kind of interesting, a few of the things that do occur in this particular episode.
Yeah. Max, did you have any changes that affected your enjoyment?
Enjoyment overall, the only thing that maybe affected it all was my wait, isn't Souther alive? Kind of thing.
Just that's still going on, yeah.
Just think I had to look it up later, trying to I don't remember him being on the ship type thing. And it didn't really affect anything, because did he even do anything in the later books? That's my question to you guys. Does he have anything he does really?
Not that I can think of, but I think he's mentioned maybe in the later.
Because I know he's on one of the other ships, and otherwise, aside from his one contact with Avasarala, it's does he really have any other role to play?
I'm trying to remember if he was part of the story arc having to do with the later attack on Earth. Let me just put it that way. I just can't pull it out at this point.
It's been about a week since I read that. I don't remember him in there. So
even the wiki just has an ending after the ship. Doesn't even mention any appearances later.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
That's why I'm does he have any other thing? And so it makes sense cutting him there if he has no real appearances later.
Right.
And
well, in the show he does not. We know that, but
obviously, I mean, it wouldn't make sense for him to appear later.
Hey, kitty cat. Hi there.
The Cheshire Cat again.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, otherwise, I enjoyed all the changes. Normally, I don't really appreciate the drama on the Rocinante, but the drama on this ship was appreciated. It enhanced the episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, and the Souther's officers were
Schaefer and Mancuso.
Yeah. Schaefer was incredible. You know, as you said, her little neck snap was pretty impressive. You know, I guess she is the XO itself.
Yeah.
For Southern.
There's a bit of either incorrect dialogue, bad editing, or incorrect costuming somewhere along the line, because the board on her shoulder give her as a lieutenant commander, and they call her, I think it was either lieutenant commander or commander that it shows, and they called her a lieutenant. I'm thinking she has to be higher than just a lieutenant if she's the XO. But yeah, so she was referred to as lieutenant once or twice that I know of.
Yeah.
And it should be lieutenant commander or commander, one of the two.
Yeah, and it could be that they just use lieutenant to be lazy.
Yeah. And it could have just been edited that way too, which is why I included editing.
Mm-hmm.
So
now some other things.
But yeah, she was good.
Yeah, some other differences from the book. Obviously, the whole Strickland Mao interaction on Io. That's quite a bit different. But once again, it's so much more exciting. It really is.
It's interesting. For me, it's interesting trying to get in the mind of Mao there, because at the one hand, he's a very bad man, and what he's doing there is very bad, and he's very, very wicked.
But make him so much more evil.
He's terrified of Venus, of what's going on Venus.
Mm-hmm.
And he wants to do anything he can to understand what's going on there so he could potentially stop it. Because at this point, not so much earlier, but at this point, since Eros hit the planet, his motivation seems to be more save humanity. Yes, save humanity underneath him, it seems, but you know, with him being the top richest person ever, but the avarice of the man is just insane. But at the same time, he does have an interesting motivation now.
Yeah,
and
the bit of humanity that he shows with May is, I mean, that's a nice touch to bring the character, make the character more, or fuller, I should say.
Yeah,
I was going to say more real, but it's a fuller character. And then when he realizes they are on the brink and the current subject is not going to be of any value, he's willing to sacrifice May. And he's sacrificing her for whatever this grand image is that he has, this preoccupation with Venus, perhaps. And so they did a really, really good job with Mao, and how he is kind of bouncing back and forth between, you know, a complete jerk and a not so complete jerk.
From a horror movie perspective, they're trying to show him as humanized only to show him as more of a monster he is.
Yeah.
Okay.
They humanized him to show how much of a monster he is. That was the whole purpose of the May thing, is to really drive that dagger home.
Yeah.
And Francois Chow is just really good at it too. You know, what he's done with this role this season, you know, I'll probably be giving him a nod at the end of this season when we talk about, you know, over the past, you know, as a whole. But yeah, I like the addition of Jules Permel as more of a character on the show than he is in the books. I like the addition.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And we're soon to lose him, so we're going to have to kind of keep him in mind when at the end of the season.
I definitely will be.
Yeah, because the second half of the season is quite fun.
Yes.
There was a very poignant moment with Alex listening to that message from his son. I thought that was sweet little moment, and it starts something that we will be emphasized a little in the next episode. But when we get to a later season, it's almost drilled into your head. It's this idea of the Martians being so committed to a particular thing. Boy, he's going to be a soldier just like Dad. You know,
Yeah.
that's that commitment that all Martians have, and not simply to the military, but to their grand plan of
To the terraforming project. Yeah.
And I thought that was a nice little touch. It doesn't really come across unless you were aware ahead of time, but I thought that was a nice little touch.
Yeah. Yeah. What are you doing? Is that the microphone?
No.
What is that?
Hairbrush.
I can't
for
see.
the
It's
cat.
behind. Oh, okay. I was like, what? Hello, kitty. Cat's having fun.
Yeah.
What's up next, Max? Oh, go ahead, Mitch. You had another?
I have a few things. Yeah. Another.
Okay, keep on.
Yeah. Another, something not in the book and actually might go into, what the favorite scenes may be. It's not a favorite scene of mine, but that conversation between Naomi and Holden when he's getting ready, he's getting his gear ready to go, and they have that sweet talk. She reveals that she's had a child. He's learning things he never knew about her. She's opening up in hopes of fixing the rift that exists there. And it's a really nice first step.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Gesundheit. Oh, I don't know if you saw Max just now, but that's why I said it.
Oh, okay. I was looking down at my notes.
So, yeah, we move to the next, Max.
Favorite scene or dialogues?
My favorite scene. Well, this is my favorite moment, but my favorite scene was the whole mutiny. The sequence. It's broken up, but the whole mutiny thing on the CIC on the Agatha King is my favorite of the episode. I just had fun with it.
It's like 75% of the episode.
Yeah, it was a big chunk of it.
They spent a lot of time there. But yeah, that's my favorite scene.
Well, there was a lot of intrigue in there. We get to visit with Kotiar again on the Agatha King when Souther wants to confirm this message that's coming in from an enemy admiral or enemy captain. I forget if she was what her rank was, but I think the way they crafted all of the different sequences for the Agatha King, how one followed the other in very logical form, very believable every step of the way. I thought was really nice. My only beef is that when his two lieutenants came into the galley, the attendant there had the coffee already ready. He basically just turned around and set them down. Did he know ahead of time they were coming? I don't know.
Yeah, who knows?
But those were fun. Now, I think the sequence I liked best was the interview that Mao and Strickland were having with Katoa. Katoa, thank you.
Katoa.
Yeah.
Who has a new actor this episode?
Yeah.
It's a new actor this episode.
What? He didn't just grow a couple feet and turn an 18, 20-year-old?
Yeah.
No.
I thought that
Jordan Daycole. It's Jordan Daycole now playing Katoa.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought that sequence was really well done. Jordan just playing this the proto creature was magnificent. How, I mean, every little, twist of his head and everything just really seemed believable. I mean, it really did. I'm assuming that a lot of the blue marbling on him, a lot of that was probably UV paint, and then they would be able to turn on certain lights at certain times in order to emphasize one area versus another, and have one light that was basically always on for the fundamental blueness. I'm assuming that's how they're doing it, because it'd be so much easier to just try that out, just use lights rather than do everything in special effects. They might have emphasized certain things in the special effects manner, but the way he handled it, and Mao and Strickland always seems kind of stiff to me, and I think that's the way he wanted the character to be. But I thought Mao and Strickland dealing with the monster was just it was ominous. It really was. I loved it.
Max?
It's tough because, like, to me, there's like not very few individual scenes in this episode that really, really stuck out. You kind of mentioned like the head snapping scene, which was okay. I do like that scene near the end where Amos and the crew are like looking like, oh shit, what's that? Meaning the launching of the pods.
Oh yeah.
That was a pretty good cliffhanger for next episode, because it really makes you want to go, I need to watch next week's episode now.
And that worked, because I remember the day when my dad was watching this episode a week or two ago, and I heard that happening at the end, and then it went to credits, and he was, damn it, and I could hear him play it immediately after. So
and it's like I did want to watch it immediately after, but I need to keep this in my memory. I can't just, because then I'll forget what happened this episode and start remembering next episode as this episode.
That's why I watched season 3 straight through about a month ago, just to have the entire season refreshed, and reread the book now twice in the past couple months. So I've read that book 3 times now. Actually my favorite book in the series.
Okay.
Yeah,
But
it's my favorite. The slow.
It's like I said, though, like that scene's just a good cliffhanger ending of making you want the ending. That's why I enjoyed it.
And it was a great setup for the next episode, which basically is the end of Caliban's War.
Yep. And reading the book, I know exactly what's happening with those. And definitely the oh shit. That they don't really know what's going on with those yet.
It is kind of fun that we get sound effects of missiles and ships and the whole 9 yards, but the reason the actors or the characters reacted to the pods taking off was the rumble through the ground. So they felt it, and there was the appropriate sound effect for that. And that's what caused them to turn and look around and see what's going on. And then, funny hear the man. So it's kind of nice that, it was a believable sound effect to indicate ground motion, even though we're also going to get pods lifting off, which they wouldn't be able to hear. But you have to make a lot of
you wouldn't hear a spaceship go by either, and we hear them go by on this show all the time. So I'm fine with sound in space when it comes to movies and TV shows, because it's the rule of cool.
That's right.
And Star Wars would not be the same if TIE fighters did not make that sound when they come flying past you.
Oh, that beautiful screech.
Yeah, it's like, oh, get them away,
Yeah.
By the way, I wanted to point out Wadahala Gasi. Hey Ben, how you doing? He corrected me and gave me the answer to who coined the term hot sway, and it was Jenny from Lesbian Nerdy. I remember that when I saw that, I'm like, that's right, it was her. So Lesbian Nerdy coined hot swaying. Everybody else just agreed because, hey, yeah, that's right. So good day, Ben. Good morning, maybe, I guess.
Would be morning for him, yeah.
Yeah. What were we at? What question are we on?
Scenes.
My favorite. Yeah, okay. I did my favorite scene.
Yep.
Do we have any more to do?
Well, we already went back to me, so we can go to the next one. Is
well, dialogue. I wanted to bring up a couple of lines of dialogue. The question, the Martian captain was talking to the ensign, the one, Sinopoli, and they're talking about Avasarala, and she's like, and the captain's was, what was she like? And Sinopoli's like, kind of mean at first. I think I liked her, and I'm just like, that's so Avasarala. I mean, it's the most perfect way to describe her. She's kind of mean, but you still end up liking her. So I just wanted to bring that up.
Another good line, and Edson Sinopoli was present at the time when he was telling the captain and her XO about Avasarala being there. Bobby was there, and Avasarala was there. And the XO comes back and says, who else was there? The Tooth Fairy?
Yeah.
When I first time I saw this and I heard that, I cracked up. I thought that was a great line.
Did everybody recognize him? The actor, Matthew Bennett? He was the Doral model of Cylon on Battlestar Galactica. Never watched it?
I watched
2004. Oh, you need to see the remake. One of the best shows of all time. I'm not joking. The Expanse wants to be as good as Battlestar Galactica was, and I love The Expanse. So, BSG is one of the best shows ever done on television.
What's Battlestar Galactica on?
It was on SyFy Channel. On streaming? I'm not sure. I'll see if I can find out, and I'll let you know.
Yeah, I can find it. Okay.
They're pretty cheap on DVD or Blu-ray. Or DVD is pretty cheap. I don't know if they got Blu-ray, but I think they do. There's also a line. I want to argue against a line that the Martian XO, Matthew Bennett's character said. He said, "That's great, noble sir, but we're in a shooting war, and I prefer to win it." In my opinion, the only way to win a shooting war is not to get in a shooting war. Sure. It's as simple as that, But yeah, I get where he's coming from. I have
one more little quote, but we hear it all the time. I don't know if you remember. I think in almost every season this happens, where Alex tells Holden, "I want to check the comms, or I want to check this, or I want to check that," and Holden always comes back with, "Okay, make it quick." He says that almost every time.
I'll have to watch for that.
Yeah.
I have to watch for that.
I picked that up a few watches ago, and it keys in at least once a season it happens.
Okay. I'll watch for that.
Other than that, I don't really have many, quotable quotes here.
No, I just have things to argue with on a couple of things to argue with what characters said. I'm like, no, but I'm not going to mess with that. So I think we can move to the next question, Max.
Okay. How did the quality of cinematography, special effects, sound effects, music affect this episode?
There was music. I didn't notice.
What's your music this episode?
Yeah, the music, the tendencies were much the same as those I noted last week, where they tend to be very quiet at the beginning of a sequence, particularly if there's a conversation going on. If, on the other hand, there's just a visual, you're looking at this, looking at that, they usually kept the the levels up a bit, both volume and as far as excitement. So they were fairly consistent in that from, last episode to this episode. So I'm assuming that that's pretty much the pattern they follow at this point. It would make sense to me. Now, there was one special effect that I was not sold on. It only lasts a couple seconds early on in the show, where you have the overhead view of the plant there on Io, and it looks like a model, not a special, or not computer generated, and it just does not look good. So it only lasts a couple seconds, so it's not a biggie. There is one other shot where it's a high view. I believe it was a different angle, and I believe it was when the pods were launching.
Something just I remember just now something in the book. That door wasn't locked, because I remember them talking about nobody locks their doors on IO. Nobody, there's no reason to. And I'm like, but I guess they needed them to be slowed down or something. So they put an obstacle up. But yeah, that just popped into my head while you were talking there, saying that, when I was trying to picture shots, and the one shot that to me was,
if you think about
the
D&D,
outdoor,
the hardest boss is doors.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Because when they were outside the plant on the ground, the shot of them look, against it looked a little wonky. Unlike most of the rest of the show. So, the special effects, I still really like what they're doing with the hybrid, the glowing blue.
Notice his elbows. Nice and bone pointy, sticking out.
I didn't notice that. I didn't catch that.
I didn't catch it.
Yeah, he's got like pointy bone spur elbows coming out.
Oh, okay.
So it's changing like his actual skeletal structure,
which follows with what they talk about in the books. Where you're getting extra appendages growing out and such.
And from what we saw from the prior one.
Mm-hmm.
If I remember correctly, Kato is dead in the books, isn't he? He's the body they found, the young boy that they found. And didn't Prax identify him?
That was on Ganymede, right?
Yeah, back on Ganymede, they found Katoa's body.
I thought so.
On the show, it's it's a different kid that they incinerate. But yeah, I was going to say, I thought Katoa, because I was like, in the book, it wasn't Katoa that was the hybrid, if I remember correctly. So I was right. All right.
So
earlier.
Oh,
next.
I had mentioned that whenever you guys had mentioned Eva Solara's white outfit and Hot Swan and all that, and I mentioned Mass Effect and Miranda and her outfit, and it always reminded me of that thing. So here's a reference for you. And you can't tell me they didn't get that design from Mass Effect 2.
Wow.
There you go. All right.
Hot Swain and hot. Okay.
I mean, look at the shoulders. It's the exact same type of black shoulders, white outfit.
Yeah. The black
She's just an older Miranda.
Yeah.
Got it.
It's funny how the angle of their heads are the same in the two shots, too.
But that was Mass Effect 2. That character came with it. Then they're different, obviously.
Yeah.
But there's some similarities in concepts. But I think there was some costume choices that might have been inspired.
Oh, yeah. Well, as I remember on Tying That Guy, they were talking about how the pod that Katoa was in was inspired by some other show.
And I don't remember what it was. I'm blanking. Foggy memory.
Yeah, and they think that the set designer probably had seen this film or show. I don't remember what it was, and just had it lurking in the back of his head. And when the request came through for, we need a see-through pod for our monster to be in, probably came up with it.
Because Wes with that, I remember Wes asked him about what was the C2 pod was that, and the way he was strapped on, inspired by the Fifth Element. That Wes was asking that. Wes Chatham asked Ty that on tying that guy.
And if you think about it, as far as set design and things like that, all of these, I mean, these people are professionals. They've seen everybody else's work, and there's very little that's going to be new and unique. It's pretty much always going to be borrowed from someone who's gone before.
Yeah,
So,
and, there's also practicality. Certain designs for things are going to be the best way to do it. So there's going to be similarities. There's only so many ways you can design a nautical ship. That's why we have, why we have, what's it in evolution? The C word, where they happen,
hey, guess who was in
evolve the same shape different times.
Guess who was in Mass Effect 2? Shora.
Who? Shora Egnerslu was in Mass Effect 2?
Yep.
That doesn't surprise me.
She wasn't Miranda. She was someone else, but she was in there.
Huh.
That's cool.
So interesting connection there. So maybe she saw Miranda's outfit and said, I wanted to wear it.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, Max, that was a nice way to close the circle.
There you go.
Yeah. So it's next.
Best worst actor.
I got 3 people as usual, but I'll let you guys go ahead.
I think for basically a newer character, Morgan Kelly, who was Lieutenant Mancuso. Or Mancuso. He just did such a great job at being sneaky.
Mm-hmm.
The way he's lurking around and talking with the XO and letting her know, and he goes and she gives him command, and he sits down, and Lieutenant Boyer looks down at him and then looks away, and just that little eye motion looking up was great. I like him. Yeah, my other one is going to be what was his name? Sean Ahmed, who played Lieutenant Boyer. For as little as we see this guy over the entire show, he makes such a great impact for the short time he's there. I think the guy did a great job of presenting that character to us.
Yeah, he made me hate him. So that's why if he had done a good job and he hadn't been written well, I wouldn't like this shot, but I like this shot. I feel like such a bad person right now.
Yeah. So those are my 2.
How about you, Max?
Oh, it's tough. Jules Pierre is like, he did such an evil turnaround. Mao just did such a perfect evil turnaround this episode. Of that last part with what's her face? Forgot her name, but just completely throwing her under the bus at the end. Shedding that last bit of, you thought he might have had a little bit of humanity, and just completely like, oh yeah, well, let's make an experiment.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean May?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's Pierre May? Mao, May, whatever.
Just
no. Talking May's the little.
Oh
girl
yeah. May, sorry.
May.
Yeah. Just that acting of being able to completely sell that character. You've got to give him props for that. Hate the character, you've got to give him props for selling that evil so well.
Yeah.
I hate the person the character is, but I like the character.
Mm-hmm.
The character as that literary object, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
The person that character is horrible,
Mm-hmm.
but the character is great, so it's like Lanfear on, Game of Thrones. Love Lanfear, but she's a terrible person.
Trying to think of other ones, because the two people on board that were kind of conspiring that you mentioned were great. We didn't really see much of Southern when he was doing his stuff.
Mm.
He was kind of there, kind of wet vague, and he got shot. But he wasn't the worst actor in the episode either.
See, I differ with you on Southern. I'll get to that.
Like, he wasn't the best and he wasn't the worst, but I felt he could have done more if he was given more, if it makes sense.
Yeah.
He just
does.
wasn't really given much to work with.
Natalie Lisinska is who played Lieutenant Commander Schaefer, or Lieutenant Schaefer, according to IMDb.
Well, we definitely got to give props to Naomi and her whole thing with her kid and talking to Holden. So that'd be my two, is Mao and Naomi.
I went with Krista Bridges, who plays Captain Sandrine Kirano, the Martian commander or captain. She's my number one. I thought she was badass, and I guess they liked her so. The producers on the show, they liked her so much, they brought her back for a later season. So, but I really liked her. I liked Martin Roach as Admiral Souther. I also giving him a nod this time because it's like the last time I can, but he's always been, really good in the part. He's had more this season than any other time, and I just like the way he worked.
Mm-hmm.
But I still also got to give it to Byron Mann as Admiral Wen. I just talk about a despicable person, but great character. Admiral Wen is just I really am getting close to making a list of my most despised characters in The Expanse. Books and book characters. Good. Yeah. Admiral Wen would definitely be up there on it.
Okay.
So those are
now,
my three.
I have a quick question. Is it ironic? Was it planned that two of the big baddies here are Asian?
I think that's unintentional. It's East Asians are a large percentage of the global population now. And I think I think it was unintentional. I don't think that was, because look at who we've got as one of our heroes is an Asian man. And one of our, an Asian man, and then one of our other protagonists, the character we want to protect the most, is a little Asian girl, Asian girl. So I think it's
the series goes on. Obviously, that doesn't stay true, right?
Yes, no,
yeah.
Our antagonists definitely change as seasons go by.
Well, see, they also took one of the most terrible and people, and took him from a dark-skinned man to Sean Doyle, because Sadovir Ehrenreich is definitely not a white dude. He's a dark-skinned man with gray hair, I believe. It's a lot older. So, I don't want to call it whitewashing, but they turned a character white who was a really nasty character in the books, and it is on the show. So I don't know. Sometimes I wonder at some of the casting choices they made when it comes to stuff like that on this show. But I don't think any ill was intended in any way. So
I wouldn't think so.
Yeah,
I wouldn't think so.
I mean, they've gone out of their way to be a very diverse cast in a lot of ways, and I have called it out. There was somebody in season 1 that bothered me, other than Aaron Wright. But Yeah, you might have had people having reason to complain if they kept Aaron Wright not white. Then they'd be like, "What are you saying? All the bad people are not white." But then you got people who are heroes like Fred Johnson, who one of my all-time favorite characters in the series, by the way. I love Fred. But what's next?
Themes.
Mitch, did you pick up on any this week? Did you?
As I said, this is my weakness. I don't pick up on these themes. I just tend to be a little too technical in my analysis.
That's fine.
Yeah, I was never a psychology major. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Or no, I never was a literature major. I was an English major, journalism, but yeah, looking into themes and trying to pay attention to that is something that I had to teach myself to do, because I never cooperated in class back when I was in school with those kind of classes.
Oh,
because those two were always opposed to science fiction and fantasy.
So before I forget, I totally forgot to put your picks up on the thing.
Oh,
yeah, I totally forgot.
Yeah, Martin Roach, and then we got Byron Mann as Admiral Wen, and then Krista Bridges as Sandrine Carano.
Sorry about that. Totally forgot to even put
No
them
problem.
up.
No problem. Max, did you have any themes this week?
I mean, the most obvious in your face theme is conflict.
Okay.
It's. Did they like explain that one?
No.
No. That's pretty much the most obvious one. Yeah. Conflict.
There's a lot of loyalty and betrayal going on. Loyalty's going all kinds of different directions. Betrayal's happening because some people are just traitorous shits. There's a lot of secrecy versus truth. Wen's trying to keep all kinds of secrets, and people are trying to find out the truth. Hell, even Mao is trying to find out the truth in one sense.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the big one, and at first I wrote it down because there was a confession, and then I thought about it because there's also some storytelling time. And then I realized the best way to describe it is revelations. Boyer tells us a story, tells us about Wen's past. Alex is telling a story to Bobby of how they beat the hybrid. Sinopoli is telling a story of what happened to when they were on the Rossi and they got help. Christian is telling the story of her Atlas, the statue of Atlas that her father gave her, which is only in the show, not on the book. There's the revelation of that the protomolecule has the work that it is doing. And the revelation of Aaron Wright's message and Naomi revealing her past in Philip, It's just like constantly, it was just like, once I clicked on the word revelation, then it just, there's something being revealed in almost every sequence of the episode. And I'm just like, oh, I couldn't get away from it. I just kept seeing it.
Well, and that makes a lot of sense if you think about it, because it sort of eases you into the action that's going to occur in the next episode, which is the ultimate episode for Caliban's War. You want to get all the explanations out of the way now, so that you can just either act on them or understand why people's motivations are set based on those revelations. Yeah.
Anybody have any other notes that they wanted to bring up?
I hope forward to next week's episode.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I did want to cover one thing briefly. You had just mentioned it, Alex, revealing about what they did to get the protocol or the protomolecule off of the ship, and he tells Bobby protomolecule isn't smart. Now, this in the books is something that Bobby kind of figures out for herself, because she's rewatched the videos of the attack on the UN and Martian forces on Ganymede, and she's realized that there is a pattern as to how the protomolecule creature operates. You know, they're very fast going forward. They don't react well side to side. If they can't get to you, they throw things at you. You know, those are her two big things. And that's never covered in the show, but we have this little reveal from Alex that kind of takes its place.
Yeah. All right. Let me double check my notes. Did I have anything? Oh, I just wanted to comment. I didn't take a screenshot of it. I should have. But you know how we had that episode not that long ago where Amos was getting on Prax about locking stuff down before going into combat maneuvers and stuff like that? Has anybody paid attention to how the armory is designed? Nothing is locked down. Everything is just on a shelf or on like a mannequin inside. It looks like there's door handles to open the doors, but Holden just reached right through what would have been a glass door to put the helmet back in there. And I'm like, that shit's just going to fly around when they're doing maneuvers. I would not want to be anywhere near the armory.
There are
at a time like that.
There are a few inconsistencies along those lines. Without
design flaws that, you know, but rule of cool, except for the case where the two seats were facing each other from opposite opposing bulkheads. You know, that when the episode when the drill almost hit Prax in the face. I still don't like those two seats facing each other. That will always bug me.
Yeah,
but I think I'm done nitpicking.
And reviewing, I did on the quality of the cinematography and all that. I did have one note that I missed. The missile launch sequence, or the pods when they're launched, you have in the foreground the structure of the plant, the building that they're in front of. In the midground, you've got the missiles launching. In the background, you have the corner or a quarter of Jupiter, and it is just a beautiful, beautiful shot. That if next time you take a look, take a closer look at that. I think it's a beautiful, beautiful shot.
All right, I think we can wrap it up. Thank you at home for watching. Thank you, Ben, for watching. I don't know if you're still in the chat, but if you are, thank you for watching. Everybody else who's watching in replay, thank you. Please leave us a like, a comment, and a subscribe. And don't forget to be awesome.